What is up, XRP community? Welcome back to another video. Thank you for joining me. I want to talk about how the market slumped yesterday and why a lot of people are fearing a recession, a few general stories, and a little bit about the Ripple EVM sidechain. So let's hop right into it. You'll see Bitcoin sitting right here at the 60K level, and that's because a lot of money, I think 2.9 trillion, was wiped out in the stock market just yesterday, and the jobs report came out and it wasn't too favorable, but it does look like Bitcoin could be hitting a local bottom. The yields are falling off a cliff in the U.S. markets as the job reports came in astonishingly bad. It was the worst dip in the U.S. stock market since the 2020 COVID-19 thing that I can't talk about. He argued that recent events had cemented the likelihood of the Fed cutting interest rates, a key bullish catalyst for risk assets, at its meeting next September. He outlines current macro situation. Stocks are falling like we're entering a recession. Gold prices are falling like nothing's wrong. Bonds are rising like rate cuts are on the way. Oil prices are rising like rate cuts got canceled. Crypto is falling like we're in a bear market. Housing prices are rising like we are in a bull market. Nothing adds up. So they do predict that the first Federal Reserve rate cut will be in September. And then look at this clip of Trump floating, paying off the $35 trillion U.S. national debt in Bitcoin. Take a listen.
Who knows? Maybe we'll pay off our $35 trillion, hand him a little crypto check, right? We'll hand him a little Bitcoin and wipe out our $35 trillion.
But how do you want it to be more prominent in America? How will that work?
Oh, it's going to work easily. It's already prominent. It's moving along. It's very loosely regulated. That's one of the reasons it's moving along. But it is a different form of a currency, and it's going to end up benefiting the country.
So it's just joking, but I thought that was kind of funny, and it's good to see that he has a favorable opinion on crypto, and he wants America to lead first, not do what Gary Gensler and the SEC is doing by holding back a lot of innovation and a lot of crypto adoption by regulating by enforcement and not giving regulatory clarity. But we'll just have to find out who becomes president. And Bitcoin whale volume from exchanges hits 9-year high as analysts call for the Bitcoin price bottom. Notably, Bitcoin whales with at least 1,000 Bitcoins, so we're talking big money, have moved the most Bitcoin out of exchanges since 2015. Now, when you move Bitcoin out of an exchange, it's typically a bullish thing because you can't sell Bitcoin on a cold storage wallet, right? You only send your Bitcoin to an exchange where there's some counterparty risk when you're trying to sell. Around 64,000 Bitcoin have left whale exchange balances in the past 30 days. This is the biggest negative net position change for exchange whales since September 15th, when Bitcoin was bottoming around 220 bucks. Geez, imagine catching that bottom. Moreover, Bitcoin addresses with at least 1,000 Bitcoin have added an average of over 100,000 Bitcoins per week. Okay? These are the people that you should be betting on. These are the people that you should be following. These guys have already made it in crypto. And if they're accumulating the most crypto they have since 2015, I'd say that's pretty bullish. The EVM sidechain and why it's important in the Ripple Q2 2024 markets report, President Monica Long talked about this. She talks about their partnership with XLR for their XRPL Ethereum virtual machine. Why is this important? Well, what this Ethereum virtual machine does is essentially it will function as an exclusive bridge for the sidechain's native token from XRPL. Besides this function, XLR can link over 50 blockchains to its ecosystem. Ripple looks forward to working with them and anticipates hundreds of millions of dollars in tokenized real-world assets into the XRP ledger. And this is what bolsters adoption. This is what allows people to build on the network, which ultimately that's what's going to make XRP go up in price. More stuff on the XRP ledger, more developers, and things like an EVM sidechain that can unite 50 blockchains. That's great stuff. So there's a lot of people on crypto Twitter, and a lot of them are wrong all the time. Credible Crypto is one of these guys at 405,000 followers. I'd say he's pretty reputable. He even took like a 2.5-year break on Twitter and just came back within the last year. But he's someone who's very well respected in the space. And he goes on the Bearable Bull channel to talk about where XRP is right now. Take a listen.
Delay the inevitable. And now when the inevitable comes, it's going to be a lot stronger for that, because all we've done here is we've shaken out a bunch of weak hands. People that previously would have sold on the way up have likely capitulated already or already sold on the bottom. At this point, if you're holding XRP, there's no reason for you to be doing that unless you truly, truly believe in the protocol. At this point, if you're still holding XRP, you're not selling anytime soon, because if you had any doubts about XRP, you would have sold months ago because it's been crawling for the last 7 years, right? So if we understand that there's no weak hands left, essentially everyone holding XRP are diamond hand holders, then as we start breaking out and moving up, because of the lack of supply, because of the lack of potential sellers to be found on the way up, price will move up very, very aggressively, which is the same thing that we saw back here in 2017. And so if and when this move comes, it's probably going to happen, I mean, insanely quickly. You saw back here in 2017, we moved up, for example, and I actually caught this move from 22 cents. It was my entry into crypto, and I went long on XRP at 22 cents. I sold it at 222 on the way back down for a 10x, but it happened so quickly. People aren't going to know what hit them. It's just going to go crazy. Like we went here from, I think it was under a penny to 7 cents, and this is a weekly chart. So literally in like 2-3 weeks, we went up like 10, 20x. And then what followed that was a move down to 2 cents, and then from 2 cents to 45 cents in like another 3 weeks, right? So this, and I believe this was either as Bitcoin was approaching its top, or I think actually this move from 22 cents was the move of Bitcoin after Bitcoin had topped. We went from 22 cents to 386. So as I previously said, the biggest moves are going to happen after Bitcoin.
7 years of sideways movement, but if you've been in XRP for a while, you know that when it does move, it moves very quick. Back in 2018, it did a 10x in about 10, 12 days. So like a great point he was making, all the weak hands have already sold, right? XRP has been going sideways for 5, 6, 7 years now. So there's not a lot of sell pressure left, and the people looking to sell XRP aren't looking to sell at these price levels. Really quick, guys, before I wrap you up with this video from Ian Carroll talking about this 2024 financial collapse. If you guys don't follow him, he puts out a lot of really good long Twitter videos. Definitely check him out. But if you want $41 for free, sign up with Webull, deposit 1 penny, and you're guaranteed $41 in free stocks. Sell your stocks, close your account, do whatever you want, but it's a great offer. Just for signing up and depositing 1 penny, you get $41 in free stocks. Also, if you guys need a spot to get crypto, I dollar cost average to buy my crypto weekly on Uphold. You can find a link to Uphold in the video description below. Now take a listen to this video.
This year they're going to pop the biggest financial bubble in all of history. And I think I know why. Let's start by talking to our good buddy, Fred. If you don't know, Fred is the official website from the Federal Reserve where they publish all kinds of official economic data. And Fred can tell you a lot of things. Like, for example, that US GDP, the total value of all the stuff that the US makes that's real, is going up slowly, and that US debt is skyrocketing. This is not news to anyone that has eyes. I mean, we've all seen the meme of Jerome Powell and his money printer by now. No matter how you slice it, money's just getting printed. They measure the total money in the system in different ways. They call them M1, M2, M3. M1 is a particularly cute chart. M2 includes more theoretical money that's just numbers in other screens. And so that spike in 2020 is not quite as intense because it has more factors involved. But no matter what you look at, the money supply is going to the moon. But you know what else is going to the moon? Derivatives exposure. Again, GDP is on this chart in green because it's not changing at all, really, while derivatives are skyrocketing. Derivative is the financial term for like placing bets that are just arbitrary that we make up ourselves, not like buying a stock and the stock's value goes up because the company's value goes up. Derivatives are people in the financial institutions or just you and me making bets based upon other things. Like I bet JP Morgan stock will be worth this much more on that day. I'll put $1,000 on it, which sounds legit because it's, you know, people make bets, but it allows for huge amounts of leverage in the system. Because JP Morgan stock might go up by $1, but we might have bets that mean that changes our bets by hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Although in the real world, we're talking millions and billions of dollars. It's an extremely complex topic, but just so you know what we're talking about here, the top 3 financial institutions in the United States are currently sitting on $50 trillion worth of derivative bets each. This chart is in millions of dollars. So 49 million is $49 trillion. And if you notice their assets column, Goldman Sachs is sitting on $47 trillion of derivatives, and they don't even have $500 billion of actual assets to back up all those bets. Because, you know, when you make a bet, the other side is like, okay, but how do I know you're good for it? And you're like, well, check out my nice car, right? Like the car is your asset that backs up the money that you're promising to pay. So yeah, they're sitting on 100 to 1 leverage right there. And a lot of economists have termed this the everything bubble for good reason. Because as all this money got pumped into the system, it skyrocketed the value of stocks, just all stocks, cryptocurrencies, you name it. But we've also seen huge rises in things like mortgage-backed securities. This is since 2010. You know, these are the things that caused the 2008 housing collapse. Yeah, they're on the up. Oh, and so are student loan asset-backed securities. A security is like a slice of pie where you like put a whole bunch of debts or a whole bunch of things into a pool and you slice it up into little slices and then you sell pieces of it as investments. Like, you know, a company gets sliced up and they sell shares of the company as stocks. Those are securities. So student loan asset-backed securities means when they take everyone's student loans, put them all that debt into a big pool, and then they slice it up into little slices, and then they sell those slices as securities so you can make money off of collective student loan debt. Well, let's be real. You can't make money off of it because you don't know how to do this, but they make money off of it. I think this chart shows the phenomenon a little bit more clearly because it's a new thing. This is what we call financial innovation, folks. Oh, but they're also doing it to your car loans too, obviously, which are at record highs right now. But also consumer credit card debt is also at record highs. And you all already know this shit. We all know that we're fucked. But the point is that right now, everything's fucked all at once. And the stock market's insane pump over the last decade or two. And a huge amount of that value in the market is actually just derivative value of made up money of bets propping everything up with fake money that's not actually real, just making everything look like it's really valuable. Because in the financial world, if everyone's making side bets on Apple going up, that increases Apple's value because everyone's hyped. Apple stock goes up, everyone gets more hyped, they make more side bets that Apple stock will go up. You see what I'm saying there? Just if you hadn't looked closely and read yet, that line says 600 trillion. But some estimates put derivative exposure in the quadrillions, which is a stupid number. And I phrase it that way because we don't actually know the size of the market because over-the-counter derivatives are not regulated and they have very lenient reporting standards, thanks to a certain guy that we'll talk about in a second. And all of this has been carefully executed by a small set of financial executives and power people who love to act like they don't understand the basics of inflation and the economy, and they just could never have predicted the situation that we find ourselves in, but have convenient resumes of being total stooges for the Federal Reserve despite now working for the government, because those two organizations are not. Or the chair of the Fed, who is the master of, I just didn't know printing money would cause inflation. Because I'm sure Jerome Powell did not understand the most basic facts about how money works when George H.W. Bush named him Undersecretary of the Treasury in 1992. So to clarify, he went from the private sector working for investment banks to the public sector working for the government, back to the private sector working for the Carlyle Group during the Iraq War. There's no rabbit hole to be done on that whole can of shit. And now back to the public sector in charge of the Federal Reserve. Or is that the private sector? I'm not really clear on that one. And then, of course, the guy that's in charge of regulating the whole thing, Gary Gensler, the chair of the Securities Exchange Commission, which is like the financial regulatory institution of the United States. Well, he worked at Goldman Sachs for 18 years before taking the little revolving door into the government, where he's worked for Goldman Sachs ever since, to be clear. But back in the turn of the century, Gensler worked with Lawrence Summers to push for passing the Commodity Futures Modernization Act, which exempted over-the-counter derivatives from regulation. You know, these over-the-counter derivatives that are currently worth hundreds of trillions of dollars of unchecked, Lord knows what kind of leverage. He also did a stellar job of specifically failing to regulate the crypto industry in very suspect-looking ways, going after every legitimate actor except for the dude that broke everything, who totally didn't have weird ties to never mind. In case you didn't know, in the build-up to 2008, the big boys knew what was coming because they were the ones inflating that bubble, and they popped it at a very specific time with very specific actions. And they timed it very specifically to bring in our Lord and Savior, Barack Obama, who promised to regulate the banks. And that did not go well. And today, the situation is 10 times worse. And the whole world is 10 times as fucked. And throughout all of history, there's only one thing that solves major economic crises on a global scale. But this time, a global war isn't enough to fix it, because it's not just a global economic crisis, it's a currency collapse. And all throughout history, a currency collapse leads to the rise of a new currency. And who have you heard talking an awful lot over the last year about introducing a new kind of currency that's going to make the world a much better place? And if we're being honest, it's looking more and more like in 2024, they're either going to let Trump win or do something really shady to make the election not happen. Because they're actually trying to run 80-whatever-year-old Biden against him. And what better time to pop the largest financial bubble in all of human history than right before you let Trump have office again?
Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for giving me 15 minutes of your Saturday. Comment weekend below. The best way to support is just pressing the like, watching the full video. And have a great weekend, guys. Until next time.